All right. I got it. Calvert Baptist.
Keep my phone.
Hold on, friend. Hold on. I got my stuff in order.
Nicole's got her hands full tonight.
Do you have more of these? Or am I
Yeah, I do.
Yes. I typed it up.
Is that a special president?
We're making up for this that aren't good.
And then I sent it to Jennifer and said, your suggestions and recommendations are welcome.
Did she?
Jennifer sent this to her. Wow.
And he was going to come and arrest me. And I was like, how do I get out of this? No, this way. No shit. Bailed out.
Cash balance.
Oh. We forgot
Does that make a difference? Does that make a difference?
I need to get organized. Yeah.
You bring it on.
Calvert Baptist Church.
Hey, we're not.
I just didn't, it didn't show up on my phone.
Are we not?
Ready?
The minutes did work okay.
Before we start the meeting, Andrew Hostetler from Calvert
Baptist.
Calvert Baptist Church in La Paz will say the invocation.
All right, let's pray. Dear Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day that you've given us, Lord. We thank you for your safety and your blessings that you've given to us. Father, we ask that you would just put your hand upon this meeting this evening. Lord, we ask that you would just give us counsel, wisdom in the questions that they ask and the decisions that they make, Father. We pray that, Lord, you just bless this county, Lord, and give safety to the schools and the workers that work for the county, Lord. We pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Councilmember Cox will say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The April Marshall County Council meeting will come to order.
Wow.
Is there any public input on the agenda items? Seeing none, the chair will move to the attorney report. Marcel.
I've got a few things. First, the commissioners have reached out and asked if the council would be interested in taking over the legislative duties for the county. So that's something that Sean and I are going to work on and talk to you guys more about. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to contact me. The second thing is the commissioners have asked if we would be interested in having all not-for-profits that receive government funding from us give us a report on how those funds are used. So there's transparency going forward in how we're funding the nonprofits and how that's actually benefiting the citizens of Marshall County. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you guys are interested in that. And then the last thing we've been working on with the courts, the CASA program, the restricted opioid money can be used to fund the CASA program, at least that portion of it that's used to rehabilitate children who have addiction issues or have been adversely impacted because their parents have had addiction issues that have led to incarceration or other problems at the home. So the judge is asking that we consider using some of or all of the restricted opioid money for the CASA program.
Okay. So to summarize, commissioners are looking at potentially looking at the legislative model, which is chapter 3.5 of that county Title 36. It gives the county council some more broader authority and more defined authority, correct?
Right. I mean, right now you guys are just the fiscal body, right? I mean, I say just, but I mean, controlling the money, funding programs, funding departments. I mean, that's the major crux of what the council does. Once you get legislative authority, then you control and you pass all of the ordinances for the county. So you work with the commissioners more in figuring out the path the county takes, right? It's not just the commissioners deciding what wants to get done, you guys saying if it gets funded or not. It's working together to figure out what the future of the county look like, what paths the county's going to do, what happens, and then us funding it and them signing the agreements for it. So it's more of a collaborative thing. You have to work together more. There's no. In the past, we've had some issues where some commissioners have done some things that the council has disagreed with, and the council just hasn't funded it, and it's led to some chaos. This would prevent some of that from happening because you guys, like I said, we work together on figuring out what the path forward is on things.
Questions, comments on that?
And who does that? Gets the legislation together so that that's a cooperative.
So a resolution would have to pass by both the commissioners and the council. So it'd be a joint resolution that we pass, and obviously we'd have to pick a effective date, which I don't think would be anytime soon, right? I mean, there's some stuff to work out if that's what you guys want to do, but there's gonna have to be a lot of discussion amongst us as a group, and then with the commissioners to see if this is something everybody wants to do.
St. Joe County has that model, right?
They do.
So the council would have more legislative authority. Doesn't the commissioners in St. Joe have a veto power?
Yeah, this is more like the federal system, right? You've got the House, which is the fiscal body and the legislative body, right? And then the laws come out of Congress and they go to the president. The president can sign them or veto them, and then the council can override the veto. It's very similar.
Okay. It's something different. I mean, only 3 counties or 4 counties have this at most. Surely the powers defined in the state statute are a little bit more broad and clear, in my opinion, but it's something to consider. Any other thoughts on that?
Do
you know what the statute is?
Yeah, it is 36-2-3.5-1.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And the grant process, you're looking at, from the commissioner side, perhaps a little bit more accountability or reporting? Is that what I?
Well, this would be on our side, right? Because we're the ones who fund the programs. I mean, the commissioners can sign the agreements, but we're the ones who say, if CASA or any other group actually gets funding. So, when we're funding, I think we can put a request into the commissioners that say, we're gonna have a policy going forward. We'll fund, but as part of our policy, which we can draft up and this is something you guys want to do, we'll present for you. Any nonprofit entity that's getting funds from us has to do XYZ for reporting purposes so that we can essentially audit, right? Make sure that they're using the money for what they said they were going to do.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Something like that's going on at the Indianapolis state level. The
okay,
governor's working on that too.
okay, more accountability, okay.
Transparency.
And how would we implement that with some sort of,
Just tell me if you guys want it. I'll draft something up and I'll have it for you for the next meeting.
I think it's a great idea.
How
The
much?
more transparency, the better.
I do too.
Accountability.
I think it's great.
okay, so, I think it's a good idea as well. What the parameters are, I don't know, but
Right.
any thoughts on that, council?
Have to be, approved, whatever it is, they have the money and then how it's spent afterwards. And they come in and say they spent 10,000 on this, 5,000 on that, and show us what they did with it.
I don't even know if they
Never know.
necessarily have to come in. We just have them send a report in. If we've got questions, we can ask them to.
Okay, a report of some sort and, okay, so,
It'd be nice to have an opportunity to look this up and learn something about it first.
yeah. So would you guys want Marcel or someone to craft some sort of policy or procedural guidelines for these?
Yeah, and then we can move forward and look at it and tweak it
Okay.
and make changes.
I don't know if we need to vote on this, but it seems like the council would like you to come up with some sort of policy recommendation and then bring us to our attention next meeting or maybe perhaps in June. Is that okay, Marcel?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Marcel?
He was talking about the restricted funds for CASA, right? Or is that unrestricted?
Restricted.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So once again, we can use the restricted funds for CASA for those individuals who are in the program that have addiction issues or have been adversely affected because their parents, guardians, whatever, have had addiction issues. So that's a use of the money. And I know the courts have been asking for assistance because, for the last couple of years, we've heard how they're getting less and less state funding and they're unable to meet the demands of the children in the county.
Judge Cerisi will be, when she has all the ducks in rows, probably going to be coming with a request later on and talk about how the numbers have increased in CASA and CHINs, and so I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Marcel or? Seeing none, let's move on to the Marshall County Economic Development Corporation. Greg is going to give us a quarterly report and he's going to dazzle us with some information and some handouts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think I received that.
That's our annual report. Tells a little bit about what we've done this past year, what Marshall County's accomplished. I've also got a written report here that I wanted to kind of read and expound on. The first quarter of 2025 has been off to a busy start. New administrations at the national, state, and local levels have brought some anxiety and uncertainty to the business sector. Early predictions had the economy growing close to the target 2%, with many expecting one, possibly two Fed interest rate cuts in 2025. With those in mind, we saw several expansion plans that had been considered earlier for start to actually come to fruition. Conservatively, I could say we've had about $9 million so far this last quarter in capital expenditure. Payroll's grown. It's too early to really give you a firm on that payroll yet. but I'll fill you hopefully next quarter. There'll be additional announcements this year, but the size of the announcements is still too early to say. This year does appear to be better than 2024, where we had, and it's in there, 50 million, I believe is the number on there, but still early and a lot of uncertainty, as you've seen in the last couple of weeks. Interest rates that now I'm hearing probably, depending on the tariffs, there may be as many as 5 interest rate cuts this year. So it's up in the air. Major consensus of the manufacturers that we've spoken with is that uncertainty is the issue. If there is going to be a 25% increase in their cost of goods, they can plan, make alternative arrangements. It's that uncertainty of whether, okay, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? It's costly and causing sleepless nights, quite frankly. We've had some expansion in existing industry based on new product lines, but automation and efficiency improvements have led the way. While automation has been often portrayed as replacing jobs, this hasn't really held up in our experience. The automation has been used to replace jobs that often no one wanted to do. It also has increased the need for skilled positions, such as robotic technicians and programmers. Automation, when it makes financial sense, increases productivity that often requires additional personnel in other areas of production for support. If automation only made you, half or none again as productive, it would probably cost jobs. But the benefit of automation is it makes you multiple times more productive in that your enterprise grows dramatically. Once you start to adopt it, you need people in other areas to support it. So we certainly have some grants available for production. Our county, I think I told you before, is ranked in the top 10 in the state in the number of manufacturing readiness grants that have been awarded. Our region is a top region in the state for those. The jobs, we have still a good number of unfilled positions in the county. So we don't really track jobs created officially when we do incentive packages. What we're looking for now is average wage, per capita income, additional payroll. These are the things that really add to the local economy. We certainly don't need 100 subsistence wage jobs to where they end up costing us money. I mean, there's at a certain level, those employees are using services and it's costing the county money. Items recently announced. Sequel Wire and Argus will be expanding on their present manufacturing facility with additional personnel. This was all when they originally went into that space. They were in a 5-year plan, and this is all coming to fruition. They're growing as expected, so we're excited about that. We're working with Argus on those incentives. There's some ground that has to be remediated, things like that. We're working with them on. We're also working with the town of Argus and Norfolk Southern and NDOT about the 10 and 31 intersection and 2 rail crossings. I don't know if you paid much attention to that, but that 10 and 31 intersection, whatever the 7 options that they have that they're going to do, and they haven't said which one of those they want to do, but they are going to begin work in 2028 on that intersection. It's going to affect Dewey, or I think is that 17th Road? Anyway, that intersection is going to be, because of the on-ramps, off-ramps, the acceleration lanes, and the railroad bridge the way it is, having trucks pull out, even if it was right turn only, is going to be just as dangerous as what we have presently. So the problem is if you cul-de-sac those at 31, it cuts off the vast majority of the industry in Argus because they can't get over the 2 railroad tracks. One's on Park and the other one is on Linden Road. They had a terrible accident there towards the end of 2024. ITMCO lost $1 million piece of machinery because a truck driver was following his GPS and got hung up on those rails and a train hit it. So NDOT's well aware of it. Norfolk and Southern is now aware of it, so we're working with them to see if we can't get both those rail crossings addressed, either through federal funds or with some NDOT money. Over in Bourbon, you're probably well aware that UPS is closing. They nationally are closing locations. They've lost a lot of business as Amazon increases their business. UPS has lost. I was able to talk to UPS nationally, to their real estate people. Local industries interested in that building. We've made that contact. It's to their advantage to make a deal before the brokers get involved. So nothing against the real estate industry, James, but if we can sell directly, we're going to try and get that done.
As long as you get market, good.
Okay.
We get market.
Yeah, Greg, real quick, what are the numbers from UPS that'll be leaving Bourbon jobs? Do you have a number on that? Is it 45 or 50, you know?
Yeah, the union tells me that, you know, there's positions elsewhere for everyone. Of course, not everyone's going to go, but yeah, probably 45, 50 is what we're looking at.
What was your prospect looking at, Bourbon? Do you have any idea?
It would probably, he's a growing industry, and he's become much more of a trucking industry than he ever thought. And I'm using he, and it is a he. I don't think I mean gender, but so it could be a net, you know, net.
A gain or?
I wouldn't know about a gain. It might be a wash.
Okay.
Because he is his trucking part of the industry has grown quite a bit.
Okay.
Something in pizza.
What's that?
Something to do with pizza.
And actually,
Not yet.
he's looking at expanding his present facility in addition to the trucking. So we're hopeful for that. In Bremen, Hardwood Interior Designs, HID, has moved into their new expanded facility. If you're familiar with that, it's right on Plymouth Street, huge building. They have about 100 employees in there now. They're working away. Their percentage of Amish employees is very high, like 95%. And tell you the truth, I didn't know where the other 5% were working, but they use vans to pick up a lot of their workforce. We were working with MACOG. MACOG has an interesting program just for the public's awareness through economy rental, that they will give your employees a van to do carpooling, and then the person the farthest out gets to keep the van, and they get a 200 additional miles per month on that van. So if, you know, they need to run to the store or take somebody, they have a van for they use, basically they have a route on their way to work, pick up people, and then drop them off on the way home, and then have a van for their use if anybody's interested in that. I know they're looking at taking advantage of it because they use vans currently on that. Work continues in Bremen on their housing and trail improvements. This project's been kind of scaled back a little bit. They didn't receive the entire ready, and there's also some other issues involved in that project, but it has attracted some additional retail interest downtown. So we're excited about that. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to see the downtown landscape that they've changed, bringing around. Culver's also working on their downtown revitalization areas, getting that Main Street program up and running again. The Dunes project down there, that apartment buildings, they are looking to start leasing units later this summer. We're hearing like July. That's a 300 unit, 300 additional addresses coming on the market here sometime. So one thing I wanted to clear up on that, and I did have somebody ask me about this. The Dunes will not have lake access. There is not a pier for the Dunes. While there may be increased traffic on Lake Maxinkuckee because you're going to have additional people living in there, they will be putting their boat into public access just like everybody else. They will not be designated slips for the Dunes. For some reason, somebody thought that they had purchased a lot on the lake and all those people were getting lake access. That channeling, they have ordinances against that. And so that's what that. I just wanted to dispel that rumor right now.
What's the Dunes projected number of doors, addresses, population?
300 doors, addresses. Population.
300 addresses?
300 addresses.
2 per address. Is that a fair statement?
They're saying that the actual household number is dropping down under 2 now, because there's a lot of single adults, either putting off marriage, not getting married, seniors not, so it's probably just around 2 probably is the average.
It's still strong if it gets
Oh, yeah.
fully is projected to be fully developed to 300 doors, or
It's
what?
2-phase, and that's 300 is the total. The first phase is 100, and it's about half, and then
I'm sorry, but are any of those residences like permanent, meaning townhouses?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
Mhm. Yeah, it's much like it's the same developer and the same concept as the Centennial Crossings over here.
Yeah.
They have a wide range. They have senior units, some duplexes for seniors. They also have a multi-level family, what's the word I'm looking for? Multi-family housing, and then they have single-family residences in those small lots.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 300 seems like a big number, and at first it is kind of shocking, 300. But when you even at 600, 700, that would just about get Culver back to the population that was there 20, 30 years ago. Culver's dropped quite a bit of population, and I've vetted this number with the town manager down there. 70% of the water bills in Culver go out of town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a shocking number if you think about it. So 300 residences. What we're hoping for is all those families that come in there, plus it'll open up some of the starter homes that we haven't had in town, because parents at the academy were picking up these starter homes, putting another, then again, as much money into it, fixing up to what they appreciated, only staying there on weekends, and then they flop it to another family in the workforce. It's out of the workforce. So.
Okay.
Downtown Culver ought to be excited about that, because rather than this great influx during the nice warm season, there are going to be residents that are going to be there year-round spending their money.
That's the idea, yes. We're looking forward to
The
that.
county and Culver. Yes.
It's a shame, and this is kind of just for your information, in talking to the school, that school, Culver School, has 4 townships in 4 different counties. So they have a township in 4 different counties. Only one in the state like that. There are very few kids that live in town of Culver that attend the Culver schools.
Right.
The vast majority of them are rural from those 4 townships. So it's something we're concerned about and want to change. Spoke with the cleanup crew at, if everybody's familiar with the Indiana Heat Transfer Building here in Plymouth, it was Cummings. It's been a long process. Cummings owns that property now in full. They are responsible for the cleanup. They had a crew in there, now I guess it's been 2 weeks now, and they are supposedly the last cleanup crew. I talked to them. They were getting rid of the asbestos in there. IDEM is scheduled to be in there. They have to pass an IDEM test to actually have the building torn down. That's the next step, is IDEM passes it, we bring the building down, and then we start looking at what's underground, and we're hoping it's not bad, but we're also prepared for a cleanup. But that's movement, and we're glad to see that on it. Townhomes in downtown Plymouth, I think you've seen those are coming along really nicely, and the one retail space in there that for the longest time they were kind of holding off on starting that, but they think they've got a leaser now for it. So you saw it came up this past week. The Career Innovation Center, the last piece of that puzzle is the automotive classes, and they have built a new structure alongside the existing service center that's over there. That automotive being there. It's supposed to be done in August so that the fall they can start using it. We'll see. I think it's on. They tell me it's on schedule and it'll happen, but we'll see. Divert has a new manager. That's the new building out on Jim New and Pioneer. when they divert organic waste out of the landfills, and that's hence their name, divert. They are a three-step process in that they take organic material that's returned, that goes out of date from grocery stores. That is shipped back to the distributors. They pick it up at the distributors, bring it in here, they process it so that the organic is separated from the packaging, and then that organic is turned into a slurry, and you see those tanker trucks that are pulling out of there. Those things have that slurry in there, and they're taken to anaerobic digesters, much like Huygens farm has down there. And once they get their process up, they are not at high enough capacity with that slurry production that it's worth their while to put a digester there. That's the next step, is they would like to put a digester there. And then the next step after that is selling the natural gas on a pipeline. And there is a pipeline near there, so we're looking forward to that.
Where would that go?
The pipeline?
Pipe it to where? Yeah. How much are they looking at producing?
I don't know the particulars on that, but there is a large gas pipeline. You're not supposed to know. If you try to get somebody located, they'll want to talk to your contractor.
Okay. Okay.
But it's up there.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious. There's big poles that say, don't dig here. There's a gas line.
Yeah.
But
By the jail.
yeah. SDC in that same area is a die-cast manufacturer that is being relocated from Missouri to here. It's on schedule. The steel's up. You'll see it. It should be getting closed up here and moved in sometime this summer. One of the areas that we're focusing on this coming year is developing ground for development, industrial ground. There's some industrial areas that are zoned industrial. They just need improvements. We have secured a grant to look at running city utilities out to some ground here in Plymouth, and that'll make that ground worthy of development. And so that's what else we got going on. The last thing I want to mention is the Aquatic Center. I just want to let everybody know that you've probably seen Marshall County Economic Development Corporation's name associated with the Aquatic Center. While we were involved, and this was something I inherited, but while MCDC was involved in the project initially and helped it get funding and work through the process, we have not spent any MCDC funds on the Aquatic Center as far as building it, operating it. I want to just have everybody that's an investor of ours rest assured that none of your funds have gone into that Aquatic Center. When memo was first released, there is a subsidiary that was formed with MCDC. It's a pass-through corporation. And the shorthand in the memo was just MCDC. And I about came unglued when I read that memo. I was like, we did not give $106,000 a year to run that. That subsidiary passed through $106,000 that came from other funding. It was a wire transfer. That's all it was. So just so everybody is well aware.
Thank you. Any comments, questions for Greg?
Great report.
Yeah.
Appreciated it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. And I enjoy that. That is on the cover there is the Bremen splash pad. If you haven't seen it, put on some trunks and get over there. It's a good time.
These are nice, Greg.
Well,
We
thank
received these in the mail. I thought they were very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to committee reports from the council. Highway Committee. Anyone want to report on that?
I'll take that. So Jim, Brandon, Angie, myself, and Stan was there. Met with Jason on the 10th. We looked at the 2025 county road plan. It's a draft form right now. It was. Jason went into some detail on that, helped
explain what was happening in that report. We had some discussions about the road material usage. Things like the paving versus chip and seal and those associated costs with that, which seems like everything's expensive and getting more so. Of course, main focus on what we discussed was on funding. So to stay on track with the long-term road improvement plan, right now, based on the Highway Department's budget, it's going to take an additional approximately $1 million in funds. This is due to limitations proposed by the DLGF based on the Highway Department revenues. The Highway Department budget for 2025 from the DLGF was restricted, or the DLGF lowered it from what it was originally requested. So that was kind of out of control. But to stay on the plan, it's going to cost an approximate another $1 million. We also talked about the potential for a request of additional funds beyond the $1 million that would increase miles of road maintenance and improvements. For the most part, this wasn't favorable with us. For the most part, what? It was not favorable with us. Jason, can I invite you up here for a sec? I see you're out in the audience. I know you sent us an email of some ideas. And based on his report and what you've submitted, can you just add a few words?
Funding.
Funding? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Kind of what we should just tie into what we said. We've always said we try to stay on the 10-year course. And
Okay.
based upon our total mileage, we do have to stay around that 100 to 90 miles.
Okay.
You know, and we have done different procedures to lower that cost. I think everybody's seen the cold mix paving. That has definitely saved us a lot of money. As far as the wrap, any of that stuff that we've been using, you know, that has been a very inexpensive material to use on roads as well. Just like I was just talking to Stan back in the back. In theory, that's something we should be holding due to the fact it's a paving material that we can make. But we're using it in gravels and shoulders and that type of stuff. But again, when you're looking at limestone at almost $25 to $28 a ton, I mean, that stuff adds up fast.
Okay. I guess I'm going to ask the $64,000 question. Steve said the committee, this is just council. I know you answered the commissioners, but the council committee recommended the first $1 million, but the second $1 million, I'm going to put you on the hot seat, Jason and Zach. Steve, why did you not recommend the second $1 million?
Want to cover that? No.
Is it Jim, Brandon, and
Go ahead.
go for it.
Well,
Anybody?
partially was it, my reasoning behind it is we're in the middle of a lawsuit. I don't know when that's going to go. We've got some other areas of the county that is asking for some additional money that was kind of adding up, that I thought right now it was just too much, and looking at not knowing the impact of SB1 downstate, exactly how much that was going to impact us, and
So in fairness to Jason, it's not so much his road plan and the dollars, it's the external factors that are.
everything around it. Right.
Steve, can you chime in on that? And Jim, maybe
I
you
think
can.
that's
Exactly right, it's the external factors. And the first $1 million, yeah, to continue this road plan that's been progressing and doing a great job on that. We can see that in the phaser numbers for the county roads. To continue that, the additional money is extra above and beyond. Pretty much the same story right now, is we're not sure what the future holds as far as legislation happening now and the other factors that are going on. You want to chime in?
I totally concur. We're not trying to pull money away from Jason. That's maintaining everything, because we want things to be where they are and a little bit better. And we want to make sure that it's totally funded, because without that $1 million to get us through, we would definitely have an issue. Now, we could always look at that later and see if the monies are there and they're flush, and then you can actually make a determination at that time. But it's like other things that are going on in the county, and we're aware of those, North Township and other places. The financial stretch is going on a lot of people. And, we can say we're going to do whatever the governor wants to do, and a certain amount of money is going to come in or it's not going to come in. But it always looks to me like when they say they're going to make a cut, if we're talking $1.5 million, maybe not even coming in here, it's going to have to be made up somewhere else. And we want to be able to fund the highways because, the 921 miles of roadways in Marshall County to get people in and out of here. But we have to be conservative in what we're doing. And Jason is very cognizant of the fact is what it's going to take to maintain the asset that we already have. And we want to make sure that that's solid.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're discussing, in the meeting, we brought up, we're getting more information on it right now, some other avenues and possibilities of how to raise revenues for the coming future.
I know we talked about this in the past. You could do an additional $1 million by July, and then if the money looks good, a second $1 million in August. Is that doable?
It is, and I think that was kind of the intent in the big picture, was looking at the first to go ahead and go through and keep things going. That kind of gives everything time to play out a little bit, and some of the other expenditures that we had going out to kind of get a idea of what those may be before that second $1 million was brought up.
Okay.
We have a good committee, Tim.
Sorry?
We do have a good committee.
Yes.
And we do everything we can to work with Jason, and Angie's always there, and Stan is usually there. And do you not concur, Stan? With?
Do you concur?
No, we got a good committee. I just kind of disagree with the $2 million.
And that's fine.
You can talk later.
Like August. Sorry, Steve.
Okay, go ahead, Jason.
No, that's about where I was at, right where I started.
Obviously, it's a committee report, but I thought you were back there. We're segueing into highway talk. I thought you'd be a guy to bring up. So, sounds like the committee has recommended in a month or two $1 million, and we'll play it by ear, see how it goes for the second, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Questions, comments for Jason?
We're still able to get community crossings without wheel tax. Is that correct? Is that what went through?
It's looking like a portion
Well,
of it.
I don't know where the legislation's at right now, but go ahead.
I just watched the AIC update and it looked like the grant portion, yes, but there's going to be some additional monies based on lanes. And if you don't have a wheel tax, you're not going to be able to get that additional funds based on lane miles.
So today's April 14th. We'll see how they figure out the final legislation in a couple of weeks. By May, we'll know whether or not we're going to be reduced as far as community crossings or not. It's not dead until the fat lady sings, right? So, so it's moving, it's fluid. These conference committees are very squirrely. Someone can insert something late, the whole House and Senate can vote on it, and it can change within the next week easily. So, I know was there anything else on your thoughts agenda that you wanted to bring forward to us, Jason, when we're up here?
Well, I was looking at the minutes, or what you guys had on the agenda. I did want to go to the Personnel Committee at their next meeting and go over some of the positions to try to get a little bit of a separation between CDL drivers non-restriction, CDL drivers.
We can bring that up. Sure, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay.
When do you guys meet next? Is that the deadline?
We just met and we actually talked about that.
Okay, all right. Let's skip me and talk about the compensation and job classification. You stay here real quick if you want to, Jason. we'll go forward about what he was talking about.
Do you want me to give you my full report? I wasn't, you weren't included in my report because we were kind of like off the record discussing it because you haven't actually submitted
Yes.
anything yet. Nothing has been submitted, but Angie shared with us that was on the radar that was coming down.
So I have those
Okay.
here.
Okay.
I was actually gonna give out, but.
You're gonna give something out right now? Is that what
I
you're saying?
can. I mean, that's based on what, for the personnel committee, is what
Okay.
these were for.
Yeah, go for it.
Just to us?
So she's gonna, HR's gonna do that.
It's kind of. I misunderstood this, Jason, because I thought this was supposed to go to the personnel committee, then it comes to.
Yeah, I thought it was, because we kind of half talked about it, but we didn't have any numbers or anything. Okay. 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 Sounds
So
good.
we kind of have a policy ordinance that this has to be decided by April, so go ahead, explain what you're looking for, Jason.
The biggest thing is just the separation between CDL drivers. We have some that have Class B, which is very minimal. That's just qualified to be able to drive, and we have Class A CDL with no restrictions, but they're basically at the same pay scale.
Okay.
That's kind of where that segregation between comes in play. This kind of gives an ideas of different ways maybe to break that down or look at it for that.
Okay.
We'll review that. We'll review that part of it.
You have a next meeting coming up or no? I mean, okay. Okay,
Get
so,
my report.
well, hold on a second. So when would your next meeting be though? Because we would have to adopt a change to our ordinance.
We have time. We closed the submission. So if somebody wants to submit for a change in classification, the deadline is April, but we as a personnel committee can continue to work. It's just that your submissions for a classification change is due to the personnel committee by the end of April.
By the end of April?
Yes,
Okay.
April 30th.
And you're meeting
So-
April 28th, is that what I heard?
Yes. Again.
Okay.
So we've got our submissions. It's not too late if there's others that want to
Okay.
submit classification changes.
Okay, so
They
that's your,
can, and then we can actually meet into May and still continue to make decisions. So it's just that the department heads need to have any classification changes into us by April 30th for review.
okay, so they're meeting in 2 weeks, Jason. If you could submit that, that'd be great.
We just did.
So as far as the additional, to continue the first phase of our road program,
Sure.
where do we want to look at for that money? For pulling for those funds?
Wow, we're gonna even look at my
We're moving right along, Tim.
report that I haven't submitted yet, but I mean, I don't know if you can take any out of your highway numbers, if the general is fine, that's okay with me. You're at 3.24 mil out of highway combined, and that's all three of your funds. That's as of the 1st of April. General fund as of 1st of April, 7.8 mil. I mean, either one's fine. I always like the dedicated funds to be used a little bit. I don't know how much you could eat into your own. If you could eat into your own, I'd appreciate it, but there's money there for you in the general.
Okay.
I guess the question would be, I don't know how much, LRS, that can only be used for material, right?
Material purchases, rentals,
Material and what?
purchases, rentals.
Okay. Angie, what's the deadline for his appropriation request for us next May? I mean, he's gonna have to submit something soon, right?
A week from Wednesday for the May meeting, but it has to be specific as to what he needs it for. So I know the bids are not yet back for the additional, community crossings and the additional paving projects. So in order for us to be able to advertise, he's gonna have to tell us if it's gonna be a supply, if it's gonna be a contract. It has to be in a specific line for us to be able to advertise with advertise it and have DLGF approve it.
And the deadline's in 9 days, a week from
To
Wednesday?
make it for the May meeting, it would be a week from this Wednesday. Otherwise, it would be the June meeting.
Okay, all right.
So probably the majority of what we'd be requesting this first time would be on stone and bituminous.
Okay,
I'm just taking that upon myself from what I just heard with the additional paving projects, which would be on that first page. Just different roads that I'd actually looked at for pricing. King Road from Lincoln Way to US 30 was $227,000. Suter 9th to 9A was $50,000. A dead end to, or 9th, from the dead end to Richter was 137. Quail Ridge, 12th Road to the dead end was 25. And Kenilworth, which I thought would be probably a good one to look into due to the fact of what's going on in Argus. That might not be a bad one to look at for a paving project. Kenilworth from the railroad tracks to Dewey Street was right around 90,000.
okay.
A lot of those that I looked at were mill and fills. That's the type of project that we would be subcontracting out anyway. We don't have a milling machine, so we'd have to literally have somebody in here for milling it.
Okay, and so highway committee, these are the roads that you guys looked at, the monies, the first mill, is that correct, or am I off?
No, that didn't involve these. These I actually had on that first draft was 350,000, just using for a ballpark number
Okay,
for additional projects. But that was only if the council wanted to go that route as far as doing any additional paving, which I would submit those proposals when we did community crossings. Nothing says we can't do that at a later date. I just kind of use those for a ballpark number to give an example of what some of those additional paving projects could be.
all right, so, but the appropriation request for next May,
That would be for us in-house work.
okay, in-house, okay.
Yes.
That's easier for me to wrap my head around. Okay, anyone else want to chime in or comment?
Just a thought on my part, comment is when the budgets are done, I understand that prices change, but wasn't there a way to get closer? I guess, for this billion to keep this road project going, I understand how that came. But for the additional projects, it'd be nice, I don't know, to somehow have that planned ahead. I don't know what the answer to that is.
So like the additional paving projects, for like a road program draft 2, I don't have to give those. I can just leave it at the draft 1, we can go from there, but I'm just literally giving you guys an example of if you want to continue paving projects. What we even did in the past is we've always exceeded what our road programs were, but anything that was on the road program stayed on and we tried to do it the following year. That way, at least it gives everybody an idea of what projects we're looking to keep continuously moving forward and building off of. I don't know if that helps answer what you just asked or not.
Well, we talked about it, it's a hard answer to budget if the DLGF won't let you do it.
Yes. And if it did, from what I've gathered, just from what everybody said, is if it's going to happen, it's going to take additional funding. I mean, literally, that's where we're at. It's going to take sustainable funding for us to try to figure how to move forward. We can maintain, that's about where we're at. I think even in our committee, I showed that roughly we're on like a 30-year plan right now, based upon dollars coming in.
You can maintain on the current revenues you're receiving, is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is keeping everything afloat. There's very minimal work that we would do, but as far as maintenance-wise, patching potholes, grading gravels, doing brush, that type of scenario. As far as any major projects, we don't have that kind of funding in there, especially if we're taking that money from community crossings for that match.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even with the projected revenues, we're going to be down this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Jason, so people at home and the rest of the board could know, if you received no additional funding, or if we do not figure out in the future how to increase revenues, approximately how many roads could be resurfaced in this county?
Just based upon what our first, with no additional, at $1 million, and if we were reconstructing roads at $250,000 to $300,000. That kind of gives you an idea how many miles you can do on just
How
paving.
much?
Now, mind you, that's
Right.
just everything we got.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta take into consideration patch, materials to buy for maintenance, gravel roads, all that type of stuff too.
Right.
Chip and seals at 15 to 17,000 a mile. You got $1 million. I mean,
Mhm.
that's all you're gonna get.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, didn't you show us it'd be approximately, I mean, now you had a mixture of hot mix, cold mix,
I did.
and chip and seal.
So just
So
like
it's
for our,
approximately 45 miles a year,
yes,
which we have 900 and, how many hard surface?
111 miles.
911 miles. And 70% of that is hard surface.
700 miles.
Right.
Okay, so to summarize, the first million in additional will be done in-house. The second million in additional, how much is that outsourced? All of it or?
Majority of that would still be in-house. The only thing I really looked at as far as outsourcing anything would have been if we do any additional paving project
Okay, all right.
and community crossings, of course.
Just based on the feedback from the council, it sounds like the first million's favorable. The second million, we'll see. So you'll have to bring your request next May by Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll consider that fairly.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Jason? Do you want to add anything else before we move on to personnel subcommittee?
I better stop.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Superintendent. Madam, are you the chair of that committee? Madam Chair of Personnel Subcommittee, go for it.
Okay, the Personnel Committee met on Friday, April 11th at 2025. Those present included Deb Johnson, Jim Masterson, Nicole Cox, Angie Birchmeyer, and Jennifer Dockey. We met with Sandy Dunphy about 2 positions for the Marshall County Health Department. We discussed options for an additional clerk registrar, and the request to add a public health nurse was withdrawn by C&D. We reviewed a request for a reclassification for the communications supervisor at the Marshall County Sheriff's Department. There was a favorable recommendation to submit this request for review. We reviewed a request from the recorder's office for a full-time second deputy / clerical. The recorder will use a perpetuation fund, and there was a favorable recommendation for this position to be added to the 2026 salary ordinance.
All right, so recorder, potentially one new position, funded through the perpetuation. The health department request was pulled. What was the other one, sorry?
There was one for the health department for a clerk registrar. And we discussed options on that. And then
You had 3 though.
public health nurse was withdrawn. And then a communication supervisor, Zach McLigan, just to be reclassified.
Oh, okay.
And we're sending that to be reclassified, just for
Alright.
review.
All right, sounds good. Questions, comments? Okay, so moving on to my committee, the Budget Finance Subcommittee. I would given you some key funds that I like to look at. The general rainy day cash balance will continue on average to be reduced by $600,000 a month until we get that cash draw in June, July from our property tax. Another fund I'm going to put in here for next month, and I'll go back the first 5 months. I want to look at the self-insurance fund. I think that's one to look at. These are the main ones I look at. Y'all can chime in whether or not want another one or not, but I think these are the biggies. Y'all need to keep, in my opinion, these in your, I don't know, your memory bank, or at least look at them so it's easy to make a decision, better to make a decision when you have the number and the data in front of you. So the reason why I could say, Jason, yeah, we could take probably $1 million out of a certain fund is because I have the data and the history. So that's all I'm going to report until probably July, August, once we start working on that budget. So questions on our finances?
Are we still running a shortfall with health insurance?
I have not looked at it this month. So last year we did run a shortfall. Have we gotten that reimbursement yet? We're supposed to get like a 300,000-ish, 200,000-ish reimbursement from the insurance companies for drug
The
plan.
reimbursement came back for the prescription drug plan, and that is coming back by the quarter. And they are running about a year behind on
You're
that,
behind.
on what we're getting, so we're just now starting to receive those.
Yeah, so
I know there was a stop loss last year that we hit, and we got a reimbursement for that, so that was a reduction in what we paid out last year. What the numbers are, I don't have that in front of me. If I would have been asked, I would have provided it, so I don't have that fund in front of me at the
Okay.
moment.
that's what we want to track,
Yeah.
Diligently to make sure, that the thought was, we might lose every 5 years. 1 year we might take a loss. 3 years we might take a small gain. Every fifth year we might take a big gain, but who knows? Overall, we're supposed to, in the long term, benefit from this, but in the short term, you could take a hit. So we'll continue to track those numbers. That's all I have. Let me get reorganized before we move on to additional appropriations. Any other comments, thoughts about the committee reports? Okay, additional appropriations. I may have a little bit different sheet than what is printed for the specifics. I'm going to go off what's in front of me. We're going to go down line by one on these. We're looking at a $75,000 additional appropriation out of the general fund for Dustin Place. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there discussion?
I have discussion.
Okay.
After Dustin's Place came in and presented to us on December, I had a lot of phone calls and messages from people, and I did more research, and I truly believe that Dustin's Place does an amazing thing. What she's doing going into the school systems, she's doing a beautiful thing. However, the question is into place, is that a taxpayer's dollars? Is that taxpayers should be paying for that? Or is that something that maybe the churches should be funding or individuals should be funding if they feel that's important? And that's really what a lot of individuals who reached out to me were saying. We just don't feel like this is a place where the taxpayers' dollars. We need to go and use those tax dollars for things that we are supposed to be funding from a standpoint of the county. And so I just wanted to share that yes, there was a favorable recommendation, but lots of people have reached out to me and shared that they don't want their tax dollars going there.
Okay.
I echo that. I've been hearing from people as well.
I would say the opposite. I've heard a lot about Dustin's Place between the tragedies and Bourbon and everything else, all positive, but they're also up for matching grants. So part of that is what municipalities or us have to fund, or should, that's their matching portion. And we did commit to it, so I'd say yes.
Okay. Anyone else want to chime in?
This really was a difficult one because I leaned on saying no to it to begin with. But in light of the things that have happened recently, the tragedies that have happened in Bremen, and the tragedy, with the lady that's over there in Bourbon. And I've heard of some really great work that's been done over there, and there's no money that's been funded toward that. I know that there is another cause that's been out there that a lot of people have backed, that I was not for that. But I think that, and we've talked about this, okay? I think that it puts the commissioners in a really different position because we kind of went with a favorable, like the end of last year. And at this point, with maybe this is somebody up above telling us we need to look at this because there are people that are actually there to comfort families when they have a death in their family. My heart is for the kids and for people that have lost people. So I respect, however, anybody votes, and I understand that because I was torn between it too. And I echo quite a bit of what Nicole is saying and Deb. But some other information has come up, and Will, I appreciate your sharing too, so.
Okay. Is there further discussion? So we have a motion. I'm sorry, who made the motion? Was that Will? Seconded by Jim. We have a motion to approve the request for $75,000 out of general fund for Dustin's Place. Discussion is ceased. So those in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Is that one or two?
One.
Okay. I don't know who. Did you catch that, Angie?
One, no.
Okay.
And I respect that, Nicole.
And motion passes.
Yeah, I want to chime in since we voted, and I was like Jim on this. I came in here today where I was going to be a no, and but I felt like in December it was kind of committed to. But I have received enough communication from people that also that are not for our tax dollars go into funding a lot of these nonprofits, and so this was my nice vote. That's all I want to say on that for future reference. I have to agree with people. We collect your tax money to fund the government, and I do think this is a good service to our community. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, the motion passed 6-1. We'll move on to QCAP Development. There's a request for $27,744 for security kit systems. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Cox, seconded by Mr. Patterson? Okay. Is there discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Motion carries. GAL CASA is looking for, out of their own fund, we'll do both of these in one vote. $1,500 for grant supplies, the other one for grant services of $4,443, totaling $5,943. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Shattuck, correct? Or Mr. Gorski? You're a ventriloquist over there, you know?
That's what you're hearing.
Well, this is a good night, John.
By Mr. Gorski, seconded by Mr. Patterson. Is there discussion?
It was Masterson.
I said that right, Mr. Patterson?
Oh, I thought you said Patterson.
So did I.
Maybe I did, I don't know.
Maybe we had a hearing issue.
Gorski 1, Masterson 2. Okay. Discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Emergency 911 equipment and maintenance repair additional for $21,522.68. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Wow. We have a motion by Mrs. Cox.
And
Second by Mrs. Johnson. Wow.
there's your sign.
Is there discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I think that's it for the additionals. Transfers. HR, general fund, from office supplies to office equipment for $6,200 and travel and mileage to office and equipment for $650. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Johnson, second by Mrs. Cox to approve both transfers. Is there a discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the transfers say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. General fund museum, office supplies, transferring to wages longevity in the amount of $300. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Patterson.
Second.
Masterson.
You're right. I may have said Patterson first time. Mr. Masterson.
We do think a lot like Will.
Mr. Gorski, who sounds like Mr. Shattuck,
We have to switch it up around here.
has seconded. Is there a discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the transfer of $300, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Transfer has passed. Motion carries. MVH restricted bituminous to stone, gravel, and aggregates of $250,000. Wow, it's from tar to stone, right?
Wow.
Basically, isn't that what it is? Tar to stone. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I got this one. Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Cox. Okay, 1, 2. Is there discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the transfer will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Transfer and motion has carried. MVH, we have 2 of them. Operating supplies to sodium chloride, $40,300. We have paint to sodium chloride, salt, $11,900. We have 2 transfer requests. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Masterson, seconded by Mrs. Cox. Is there a discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the transfer say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Where are we at? Salary ordinance. We're going to amend a court administrator. Wow. To a bailiff, is that right? And the numbers.
No, you're actually for an interim court administrator bailiff, so that there could be 2 to hold the position for a training time
Oh, that's
from
right.
April 3rd through April 11th.
That's right. Okay. Okay, you see the ordinance of 2025-4, paragraph 3 in front of you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Well, you were first, actually, but Mr. Masterson's number 1, Mrs. Cox is number 2. Is there discussion? Those in favor of approving the salary ordinance 2025-4, paragraph 3 will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ordinance passes. We have a new fund. I'll read it real quick. Whereas the Marshall County Council is required by statute to establish the following new funds. It's required by statute, okay? Whereas, as stated in Indiana statute, the county council shall pass an ordinance establishing new funds. Whereas the State Board of Accounts has devised grants to maintain in separate funds. Whereas the Marshall County courts have entered into a Title 4-E incentive payments program with the Indiana Commission on Court-Appointed Attorneys. The funding source is the Indiana Commission on Court-Appointed Attorneys. Now therefore be it ordained by the Marshall County Council that the Marshall County Council does hereby establish the following new funds. Fund number 9018, named Title 4-E Incentive Payment Program. We're required by law to do this. It says we shall. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Johnson, seconded by Mrs. Cox, to approve ordinance 2025-5, parenthetical 3. Is there discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of approving the ordinance will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Dormant funds. Angie, can you help me out with this one? Can you explain that real quick?
Yes, we went through and found some funds. Once they have become dormant, and I believe it was 3 years, if there's no activity in the fund, then that can be moved into county general. So we had a total of $58,081.16 that will be transferred from those dormant funds into county general upon approval of this.
And you said they have to be dormant for 3 years, is that?
Correct. So no income, no expenditures for 3 years.
Well,
And then we
thank
can
you for
transfer
looking
those.
into that good work, because
That was, I credit Tori for that. I was at conference, and so between being at conference and Tori looking these up and talking to the DLGF, we were able to come up with this.
okay.
What's our finder's fee?
10%?
Well, it's-
$58,081.
I mean, honestly, this is how government should work.
Yeah.
58,000. $81.16 was just sitting there, and we might as well put it to use for general, maybe roads, right? Who knows? So, we have an ordinance to approve transferring these dormant funds into the general fund of $58,081.16. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Shattuck, second by Mrs. Johnson. Oh, wait.
Cox.
Mrs. Cox. Second by Mrs. Cox.
You're gonna switch chairs, see?
No. You need to separate us.
Ordinance 2025-13, is there discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the ordinance will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This one requires some reading. I'm going to assign the reading of this ordinance to Mrs. Cox, the vice chair. How would you like to read this ordinance?
Sure.
So this is actually a resolution. It's a joint resolution honoring Jackie Walorski. On a personal note, Jackie was an incredible person, just full of energy, full of life, very intelligent, very smart gal. She has family here in Marshall County, Plymouth, and she is truly missed. But go ahead, Councilmember Cox, and read this resolution, please.
Resolution 2025-4, a joint resolution of the Marshall County Board of Commissioners and the Marshall County Council, honoring and celebrating the life and legacy of Congresswoman Jacqueline R. Walorski. Whereas Jacqueline R. Walorski, referred to as Jackie Walorski, served Marshall County as our representative in the United States Congress from January 3rd, 2013 to August 3rd, 2022. Whereas Jackie Walorski served Marshall County in multiple development roles at Ancilla College. Whereas Jackie Walorski's career of public service included leading a local humane society and 4 years of overseas Christian mission work. Whereas Jackie Walorski and her husband, Dean Swihart, started a foundation to provide food and medical supplies to impoverished children in Romania. Whereas Jackie Walorski served Michiana in the Indiana General Assembly as state representative from 2005 to 2010. Whereas Jackie Walorski was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives for the 2nd Congressional District in 2012, where she was a leader in strengthening programs for foster youth and children involved in the child welfare system, and providing effective and compassionate services to armed forces veterans. Whereas Jackie Walorski was a champion for Hoosiers, known for her leadership on issues impacting small businesses, manufacturing, agriculture, and the opioid crisis, all vital to Marshall County. Whereas Jackie Walorski formed strong relationships with her constituents and public officials alike, tenaciously resolving constituent issues and intentionally encouraging and teaching a generation of leaders across northern Indiana to impact our community, state, and nation. Whereas Jackie Walorski was known for making everyone she met feel seen, heard, and valued. Whereas Jackie Walorski lived her life with integrity, endurance, passion for public service, and optimism that never wavered in her commitment to God, family, country, and Indiana. And whereas Jackie Walorski tragically lost her life while performing constituent service in our district, August 3rd, 2022. Now therefore, be it resolved that effective Sunday, August 17th, 2025, in honor of Jackie Walorski's 61st birthday, the portions of Old US 31, Michigan Road, under the jurisdiction of Marshall County, are hereafter dedicated to her memory and shall be honorarily marked Jackie Walorski Road from the St. Joseph County line to the Fulton County line.
Thank you. Is there discussion, comments on the resolution?
I think it's wonderful.
You should. But she was quite a gal. Anyone who met Jackie knew that she was a ball of fire. Yes. And she was intelligent, and she was just quite a gal. I don't know how to describe her. In Congress, they called her the Happy Hoosier, and she was always smiling, even if the sun wasn't shining. She was an awesome gal. We know the Swihart family, and she has obviously made an impact on Marshall County, Northern Indiana, and she's truly missed. So, any other comments from council members? So with that, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion was made by Mr. Masterson, seconded by Mrs. Johnson. Is there discussion? Chair seeing none. Those in favor of resolution 2025-4 honoring Jackie Walorski will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. It's a great way to honor her. Okay. Minutes from the last meeting, I don't recall. I think everyone was here or no?
Jim wasn't.
Jim was not here. He was under the weather. I remember that now. I trust that you've read them. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Motion has been made by Mr. Gorski, seconded by Mr. Shattuck. Discussion, chair sees none. Those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
And I
And Mr. Masterson will abstain. Lebanon Law invoice, I had it right in front of me. There it is on the screen. $1,110. Preparing for the council, working on CASA, Hope and Chins, working on issues related to grant funds. Is there a motion to approve the invoice?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Cox, second by Mr. Patterson. Not Masterson, Patterson.
got it.
Okay. Is there a discussion? Chair sees none. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bourbon Library Board. Sherry Kilgore was recommended. I believe I did receive an email. Perhaps all of you received an email. I'm asking for your approval to appoint Sherry Kilgore for a four-year term for the Bourbon Library Board. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Patterson, seconded by Mr. Gorski. Is there discussion?
Do you know Sherry Kilgore?
I'm sorry?
Do you know Sherry Kilgore?
I do not know Sherry Kilgore, but that's not a fair statement because I know a lot of people
Does she come recommended?
but she does come recommended.
Okay.
She is probably a face, but I can't associate the name, and I'm sometimes bad at that.
Well, it's okay. If she comes recommended, has she served on the board before?
I think she did, yeah.
Okay, okay.
This would be a reappointment.
Oh,
Okay,
okay, perfect. Okay.
Okay. The reappointment, come on. If we have a motion and a second, is there further discussion? Those in favor of the reappointment will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I saw Mr. Klotz inching his way up for public comment. We now are to the public input side. And as a member of the Board of Commissioners, President Stan Klotz.
Commissioner, excuse me, District 1. I called each of you in private, so you're aware, because there's certain details I don't want to put out in a public meeting because we're still accepting bids on the HVAC units at the Bowen Building, but they've made us aware that you all looked at it. The room and all this equipment's in is pretty jammed in. Everything's tight. They made us aware that while everything works, we don't have to do anything if we don't want to. They suggested looking at the air handling system while we're doing all this because everything will be out and it will be more money. You know, right now the quotes are, I expect them to be about where I thought hoping they was going to be. I'm not going to get into details, like I said, because we're still waiting on the quotes, hopefully next couple of days. But they have told me that if they ever had to go back, if we don't do it right now, if they ever have to go back and change them later, that building could be down several weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, because they'd have to rip everything out again to get that air handle and change it all. It is 25 years old, like HVAC units. They said, we're not telling you to do it. We're just making you aware so you can make a good decision. So I guess I'm asking the board, the money is there to pay for it. And if we wait, it will go up in a few years. It'll cost more. So I guess I'm looking for guidance from the council, what you're willing to do. When I told you all $100,000 for to put the building back up shape. I'd move a little cushion area that I really didn't tell anybody about. I was hoping to have a cushion in there, and I think we do. So a lot of that extra money will be covered by that cushion. So I guess I'm asking for direction from the board. I know what most of you told me in private, but I think I'd like to have something publicly to tell me, and then when we get the actual quotes, I will get them to each of you so you know what it is. You know, again, it'll be privately, so we're not doing anything behind anybody's back. I sent a message to Doc Collum yesterday. He's aware of it. Sandy's here. She's been aware of it for a week. I told you what my recommendation is, but I'm waiting to hear from all of you how you want to proceed.
Question.
Yes.
2 opinions, correct?
2 quotes?
You're gonna get 2 quotes?
That's what we're waiting. The one gentleman was out last week from the one company was out on spring break. So we've had this out. Originally, they told me, you know, this could be an option, but that's why they called me last week and said, come over and we want to show you, because they didn't think I understood, and I didn't. I didn't realize what we was into if we don't. So again, it doesn't have to be done, but it'll be worse if we have to do it later.
Well, the reality of it is, if you're going to do any adaptations to that building, and you only do it to fix one thing right now, and you don't know what's going to happen when the other shoe's going to drop, it's going to cost you more money in the long run if you piecemeal it right now.
Well, if we piecemeal it right now, there's got to be a special coil built for that HVAC unit to slide in that cabinet.
That's kind of what I thought.
So we won't have to do that if we do it all at once.
I'm just speaking on the way I feel. It's no different than in any other building. If you have a 25-year-old furnace or air, whatever it is, you know that the moment you change one, you know, it's going to happen to where you're going to need to change something else. So if I was going to look at it, I'd want quotes from both people doing both things at the same time.
I'm getting quotes both ways from both people.
Yes.
That's what he've asked for.
Okay.
But I wasn't taking it very seriously because I didn't really comprehend. They come in and laid it out, the one contractor, what the options would be. So that's why I'm coming back to you guys. And I knew, you always know in a project like that, Jim, you've done it. You know something else is coming on an older building.
And the reality of it is, so Sandy gets moved in, and you just piecemeal some things here just to skip by, and then about the 1st of January, sub-zero hits, and the heating side goes out.
And you got frozen pipes. Got a bigger problem.
Right, so I'm big on maintenance. Deferred maintenance will just ruin every building. So I think you're moving in the right track by getting estimates, see where you need to be, make an intelligent decision as far as where you need to have the maintenance to be.
And tonight, we don't need to make a decision. I just want your direction, because we'll be coming back in May for an appropriation for whatever this looks like.
Well,
I just want to give you guys a heads up what's going and get your input, how you want me to proceed.
Well, and others may disagree with me. I mean, everybody runs their households.
No, pretty much everybody agreed with what you just
Put a
said.
Band-Aid on it and fix it when it's sub-zero. Or she can wait till it's 100 degrees outside and the air goes out. And she probably has no windows that open.
Nope.
And due consideration to cost, I'd like to see it repairs done, again, due consideration to cost, I'd like to see them done up front. Pay me now or pay me later, it's always more later.
I agree.
And at the age of those units, they're probably not far from failing, based on my experience with my home furnaces.
The only downside to all this is we don't know availability yet.
Right.
So we decide what we're gonna do, so that could push us back a little bit. So this is why I come to you tonight to get some guidance, because we're gonna have to make a quick decision once we get them numbers, so we can get this going and get out of this other building and get into the new one.
When do you estimate moving into the new building?
Well, we got to what, end of June? Yeah,
June 18th.
Huh?
June
Is it
18th.
June 18th?
It's months half over.
Yeah, it's gonna be here
So
before you know it.
we're gonna be short on time to get in there. I was hoping to get in there at the end of May, but until we do all this, they said if we decide to do all this and move and change everything, they'll get the orders in for the pieces they need, and they'll go ahead and start the demolition on the old one because nobody's in it, to try to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
But again, we're gonna see what the supply chain is.
My recommendation is don't settle on 2 quotes, get 3, because experience I had with electricians, first 2 quotes just to move a box over 6 feet.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of electrical work was $3,800. Third quote came in at $1,800, and we've been satisfied. So,
If I find three, we'll get three. I'm okay with that. I don't have no problem right now. The county has two contractors they've generally worked with. And so them's the two right now that's we have an experience with, we have accounts with. And so them's the two right now is getting the quotes.
okay.
The reality is follow-up. It's not always best price. Because when you have that problem in the middle of the night and you can pick up the phone, because that happened last year with me, because NIPSCO comes out sniffing gas at 3:30 on a Friday afternoon, and there's a gas up at my office, and they shut everything down. And I had to sit there and wait for my people to come, which were very good people, but I had an issue with NIPSCO coming back. And for clarification, and Sandy and Angie had made this clear too, the title to that property is now in the county's name.
Right.
So we feel a lot better having that title in our name, so you can do the repairs and any amenities are going to go towards your net worth toward that property. But when you do repairs and stuff, very seldom you get any type of a warranty on those when you have units that are that old. So.
And if you fix one bearing, the bearing next to it's going to go out.
I just say you're gonna have to watch your timeline because, you're 2 months there. Hopefully you can get it all in. If not, you might be stuck with just fixing one if Sandy's gotta have a place to go too.
This again, when I get the quotes, we'll get the timelines down and then I'll get it all to you guys in private, individually. And then so you can kind of give me the feedback how you want to proceed.
And I know who you've had, in the past who you've had good experience with.
Yeah, maintenance is taking care of it.
Maintenance is everything.
Maintenance is handling the quotes, getting them in here.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it. So, based on what you all told me in private, you kind of want to do the whole thing now? Am I wrong in what I'm hearing?
I'd say as long as you can get it done.
Well, it depends on the dollar amount too. I mean,
Well,
you gotta understand that.
Yeah.
It sounds like the council's favorable. I'm not gonna speak for everyone, but I would assume so long as the dollar amount's not outrageous,
Well, you'll have a dollar
it's
amount.
feasible.
You'll have a dollar amount, so you make that final decision.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, just so you know, we'll be back in May. The Plan Commission approved or accepted a bid to clean up a property down by Argus. It was over 19, almost $20,000. There's $5,000 there. I've told the contractor do not touch that property until we have the money in place because they don't have money to pay them. So we will be back for your consideration for $15,000
What's it for again?
cleanup of a property.
Cleanup?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then that would go against a lien on the property. Hopefully, eventually, we would collect it.
What type of cleanup?
Junk, garbage, a little bit of everything. If
This
you
is
want to,
court ordered.
it's already been approved by court. Matter of fact, I was told this afternoon there was a second one was approved today, but I don't know which property that is. So they've been getting aggressive up there trying to clean a few properties up. The key is, though, it takes money.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm back to you guys before we go too far. So I'm giving you a heads up that there will be a $15,000 additional for in May for that property if you so choose. And also, I think you mentioned, don't quote me, but check. I believe Thursday the language to force us into a wheel tax was pulled from that bill by pressure on the Senate side,
Okay.
the Republican Senate side. But
That's what I
So
thought.
we won't have to adopt a wheel tax?
I don't
again?
think so. I think it was. I think that part of the language was pulled on last Thursday.
Michelin made the changes, I believe. That's what I was trying to follow.
Let's put it this way: Mishra was involved. How
That's
who
what I
did
thought,
what? I'm
yeah.
not sure, but Mishra was definitely involved in it. He was opposed to forcing anything like that.
You sound like a man in the know. What do you know, Stan?
I know nothing. They don't call me Mr. Schultz for nothing.
Okay.
Stan's got lots of secrets.
All right. Well, you talked enough, so we want to.
Thank you.
I'm teasing you.
Hogan's Heroes. Hogan's
All right,
Heroes.
there you go, Sergeant Schultz.
Thank you for the update. In all seriousness, does anyone have any comments, questions of Mr. Klotz?
No.
Okay.
Please don't make Angie's Day anymore, okay?
Okay.
Give her more entertainment.
Sandy, do you have anything?
Okay, thank you very much.
Real quick, I see John out there, Mr. Grolick, public input. He is obviously the committee last year for Fire and EMS Public Safety Committee committed to $500,000 to help fund the fire and EMS. So Stan, Mr. Klotz, real quick, do you guys have to do they have to make the appropriation request, Angie?
This is a two-prong process.
Okay.
So the additional appropriation and with the commissioners will be for $328,000.
Sure.
And the council will have to submit a claim to move the cash from the general fund into that grant fund that was set up. So the additional appropriation will be before you guys in May.
Okay.
And then we'll have to have a check done. A claim will have to be submitted to take it from the general fund and move it into the grant
The new
fund.
fund? Okay.
So yes, the additional will be before May. So at this time, and I have told John when he's called to not have anybody do anything until after that additional is approved. That way we have the money in place and the funds in place.
Okay, so, again, going back to August of last year, we had the committee. June, July, we approved $500,000 out of committee. We all voted on it as a spirit of support. I don't know if Brandon and Steve had the opportunity to vote on it, but there's 5 who support it, and so obviously, you can do what you like, but the committee will likely win the day next May. It sounds like so. There you go. I support it. So, questions, comments, thoughts? Any other member of the public would like to chime in? Anybody? Council, any other comments, thoughts? It's time to go, right?
Spring is here.
Okay, spring is here. April 14th at 7:07.
Don't leave, Deb.
I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by the Wonder Women. Mrs. Cox and Mrs. Johnson. Those in favor of adjourning will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carries. We are adjourned.